courtroom shows the dad get up out of his seat. You see him there circled in red.
Jeffrey Clark was facing charges of murder in Macomb County, Michigan. On July 4th, 2022, 33-year-old Jeffrey fatally shot Jere Robertson.
Jeffrey Clark in court charged with, among other things, first-degree premeditated murder. He allegedly killed Robertson in cold blood very early July 4th.
In court, prosecutors brought a witness to tell the court what happened.
He proceeded to tell me that he would kill me if I told on him. He told me exactly what he did to Mr. Robertson. He told me that Mr. Robertson begged for his life and that the only thing he was worried about was that he was on tether.
They also showed the video of the shooting. However, just a few seconds after the video was shown, pandemonium broke out in court. The victim's twin brother couldn't bear seeing Jeffrey, his brother's killer.
Knock it off.
Man, they gonna see you.
Eventually, he was restrained. In the end, Jeffrey was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. It's not the first time a grieving loved one has lost control in court, just like what happened in the notorious case of 30-year-old Jalen Forrest, who was in court for murder. On September 16, 2013, Jalen fatally assaulted his grandfather before reporting the crime to the police.
Tonight, a Louisville man is charged with murder in the beating death of his stepfather at an apartment in St. Denis. 911 caller said that she was on the phone with the victim and heard him being assaulted. Officers found a man down in that apartment with multiple injuries and signs of strangulation. According to an arrest report, the victim's stepson, Jalen Forrest, was still in the apartment and was arrested on a murder domestic violence charge.
During his bond hearing, the court was filled with family members who kept interrupting Judge Yvette De La Guardia, prompting a warning.
This is a public courtroom, so everybody is welcome to sit here and to listen. I'm not going to allow any outbursts or discussions or conversing amongst anybody in the courtroom, and I do expect everybody to conduct themselves appropriately.
They pretended to be calm until Detective Williams began his testimony.
Detective Burns, were you involved in investigating a homicide that occurred on September 18th, 2023 at 4523 Broadleaf Drive?
They then made contact with a property manager or maintenance.
The judge tried to calm things down again.
Please don't let that happen again.
However, one particular woman was not ready to listen.
Ma'am,
Judge, can we clear the court?
yes, no, just ma'am, I'm sorry if you're not able to, you're excused.
Killed my handicapped daddy. Him. Right. And your dad's daughter. Yeah, my daddy helped.
Ma'am.
You sick.
You don't know what I'm going through.
Sir?
She was promptly removed from court. However, things have escalated. To maintain the peace, the judge had to make a quick decision.
I know this is hard. Step outside or I'm gonna hold you all in contempt. Go! I'm gonna clear the courtroom. Everyone step outside for a second. I want the attorneys to approach. Everyone is excused at this time.
Yet outside, the fight continued, prompting intervention from the deputies. Despite the commotion, the hearing continued on a later date. Jalen was eventually held on a $250,000 bond. Just when you thought you'd seen it all, another convict surpasses the Jalen family's wild courtroom display. Enter Eric McCullough. was in court for assault and murder. On July 29, 2015, Eric assaulted Lee Antoine and fatally stabbed his niece, Taisha McCullough. In court, Lee, who was in court for an unrelated crime, was called as a witness, but he had other plans.
Back up, sir. Sir, back up.
Take him out. Take him out of the court.
Calm down, baby. Calm down.
Eventually, the police were able to stabilize things. In the end, Lee was sentenced to 11 months and 29 days. Eric was sentenced to 6 years in prison after the murder charge was reduced to manslaughter. Let's compare the jaw-dropping attack on Eric to the astonishing assault on 33-year-old Zadarius Platt, who's facing charges for murdering his 26-year-old pregnant wife in Georgia. In court, Gerald Carter, the victim's brother, wasted no time in letting his feelings known. Fortunately, deputies removed Zadarius from the danger. Although the brother was restrained, he continued screaming amidst tears.
Get me on! Get me on! Crazy! It's on your back right now! Don't do it! Don't do it! Hold on! Sorry. We had to do that. I know. It hurts.
Zadarius was eventually sentenced to 2 life sentences. However, could the attack on Ryan Burge be considered even a little crazier? Ryan is in court for murdering his girlfriend's 5-year-old daughter, Hartley Anderson.
Police accused him of murdering her while mom Natasha was at work. She came home, found Hartley unconscious, and called 911.
Paramedics were called, and when police arrived, they found Hartley unconscious with severe head trauma. Burge initially told them she hurt herself after throwing a tantrum, but her injuries were so bad she died at the hospital.
Just as he walked into the court for proceedings, Hartley's family members became emotional. However, Hartley's father, Peter Anderson, couldn't take it anymore. He was restrained and led away. The situation was so intense and emotional that Hartley's mother collapsed. In the end, Ryan was sentenced to 40 years in prison. However, while it was clear that Peter Anderson wasn't happy to see Ryan, his reaction was similar to the case of Vashon Flowers, who's facing charges for murder in Michigan. On May 19, 2019, Vashon fatally shot his wife, Jamie Thomas Flowers. Now in court, Jamie's son, London Thomas, wanted to let him know how he felt. Fortunately, the police intervened.
Continues to inch forward, and it takes every ounce of strength from all of these deputies to keep inching him backward. And it was a struggle.
Vashon was finally sentenced to life imprisonment. As we saw London Thomas's anger with his mother's killer, it brings to mind the strikingly similar response to 32-year-old Jose Santiago. Who's facing charges for murdering his girlfriend, Jessica Rojas.
Stabbing and killing his girlfriend hours after she celebrated her 25th birthday.
Immediately, when Jose entered the court, Jessica's family made their move. However, the police were at hand to calm the situation. In the end, Jose was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. While the behavior of Jessica's family was shocking, it's nothing compared to the utter mayhem caused by the actions of Deshaun Brown, who's facing charges for double homicide in Ohio. In December 2020, Deshaun fatally stabbed Nitisha Lattimore and her son, Nilo.
Lattimore and Brown were expecting a baby earlier in the year, but Lattimore suffered a miscarriage.
He thought that she killed their baby, and he was going to do something to her baby, Nilo.
She said phone records show Brown ordered a body bag on eBay, delivered to him one day before a security guard discovered the mother stabbed to death inside a body bag near the Purple People Bridge.
According to the police, after stabbing Nitisha, Deshaun threw the 3-year-old into the Ohio River. Although Nilo's body was never found, Deshaun was charged in court. During the hearing, Nilo's father walked up to Deshaun for a little chat. The police immediately tackled him. Despite being cuffed and restrained, he still made moves.
What's wrong with you?
Chill out, dude. Take him there.
Deshaun's case is still ongoing. Nilo's father wasn't alone in his courtroom actions. Let's not forget the infamous incident involving Frank DeLeon Jr., who's facing charges for murder. In 2023, Frank fatally shot his ex-girlfriend Diamond after she broke up with him. A few days later, he was arrested. Now in court, Diamond's grieving mother speaks to the man who took her daughter from her. Just when you think Frank cannot sink any lower, his behavior in the courtroom will leave you stunned. The woman was hesitant to take action, but the situation quickly escalated. After some struggles, the deputies restored order in the courtroom. As for Frank, he was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Taking the lives of 2 people is devastating enough. But for James Henderson, 2 murders just wasn't enough.
Sit there and understand what you did. You took somebody away from us. We are the heart of our family.
In November 2014, James fatally shot 5 people, including a pregnant woman.
A gunman last November shot and killed 3 others inside this house. 2 men and a 17-year-old girl. Minutes later, that girl's mom, Sharita Johnson, and her unborn son were killed.
Please help us find the person who did this. Please. None of them deserve this.
Now in court, the prosecutor detailed his crime.
The defendant has stipulated and agreed to the truth and accuracy of these following statements. First of all, that he acted alone in causing these deaths in counts 1 through 5 and the injuries in counts 6 and 7.
The victims' loved ones were also allowed to tell the court how James's actions affected them. The brother of the murdered pregnant lady first took the stand.
My sister opened the door for you, looked out for you, acknowledged you. You're a scum, and you know you are. We have no sister, no mother, nobody for nothing. It's gone. Of a senseless act, you, for nothing. They didn't want to bother with you. You weren't satisfied enough. They gave you everything you had.
He detailed how he misses his sister, but suddenly he couldn't take it anymore. Luckily, the officers intervened. However, the commotion has spilled over to another family member.
You don't grab my son like that. They go and add him over there, but y'all won't grab my son, but y'all don't do nothing to him. He over there laughing, making smirk faces, but you won't grab my son. That's wrong.
After the court had settled down, one family member of one of the victims took to the stand.
You left her traumatized to the point where she has to see a counselor at least once a week.
Midway through his statement, he turned to James and spoke directly to him.
And what I personally want to say to you yourself, if you want to smile, you can go ahead and smile, because that's not going to do anything. You know, I really thought that you came in here remorseful because you got a hat on, and I usually see Muslims with that. So it just, what you just did, just kind of contradicted your whole image right now. Like, I thought that you came in here feeling remorseful, but obviously you smiling don't prove that.
Other family members also had some words for James.
You over there smirking and smiling like it's a joke that you killed my daughter and that you killed both of my kids. How can you sit over there and wear that hat